Hello everybody, today we're taking a look at the in-flight entertainment system on American Air's brand new Airbus A321T, which is the transcontinental version of the aircraft which shuttles between JFK, Los Angeles LAX, and San Francisco. The plane is brand new, and this is in first class. As you can see, the screen is very large and recesses back into the bulkhead in front of me, which means that you cannot use it during taxi, takeoff, and landing, which isn't the biggest deal in the world, but really negates the purpose of gate-to-gate IFE. Behind you to the left, you have a 3-pin noise cancellation headset jack, 3.5mm jack below that for standard headphones, USB port, and what looks to be iPod integration. There's also a tethered remote control with its own screen, capacitive buttons, such as light and flight attendant call button, and also back. We'll get to that in a little bit. The system is the latest generation of Thales's top series, which means that the screen is capacitive and extremely sensitive to touch. It's also very responsive with very little lag. No more of those old screens where you have to keep pressing really hard to make any of your selections actually work. This system responds quickly. On the bottom of the main screen, you also get vital flight information such as arrival times, aircraft speed, and weather at your destination. On the bezel, you also get buttons that control the overhead light, a button to turn the screen on and off, volume controls, and what looks to be old-school Android soft touch buttons. We'll get to that in a little bit. Now, on the main menu, you have entertainment options, and you can scroll between TV, music, movies, games, and it scrolls very nicely. But let's take a look at the movies. On the left side, you get a different selection of genres, Spanish, epic award winners. It's broken down into a very nice, easy-to-use way. Now let's go into the sci-fi section. And you can see the system is highly graphical, which may not be the best way to display things, but we'll get back to that in a moment. You can scroll through the movie posters very easily and see exactly what you want in a highly graphical way. But if you touch this button, you can get more information, and touch it again, and you can actually get a list view, which I found to be much easier, since movie posters don't always even have the title of the film in the poster. So this is a much easier way to find what you're looking for. You can also do this for TV shows and games, as this system seems to have the standard set that you see across airlines with embedded IFE systems, though you probably will want to stick with your iPad or your iPhone, as these games really aren't that great. Your time's better spent elsewhere, like watching one of the many movies on demand. And let's see what happens when you actually do go in and select a movie to watch. When you hit play, it immediately starts playing, okay, maybe after a couple seconds, but there's no long, lengthy delay. There are no commercials running in front of the movie. As soon as you select the movie, it starts playing. You can also select through the movie very quickly. You can toggle through, so you don't have to fast forward all the way through. You can go to an exact position, which is very nice in case you need to start a movie over for some reason. You can also fast forward through it pretty quickly, and the system responds nicely to that. You can also change the language of the movie, and you can get a little synopsis of the movie without ever leaving it. Now back to that tethered remote control. You can see that it's not actually displaying anything while the movie is playing, and if you click that little button, you do end up getting quick controls on the remote, which is nice but should be automatic. Also, when you put the remote back in its holster, the display doesn't turn sideways, which may be intentional for the orientation of the seating, but I'd still prefer bigger buttons turned on their side. On the screen itself, you can click the menu button, or I guess you'd call it a setup button, and get brightness, volume, and other controls. Now, if we go back to the home page, we can check out the My Flight tab, which includes things that passengers just love, such as the moving map, which personally is one of my favorite things to find on any IFE system. And they really vary on what airline and what system you're on, from really nice to not so great. Thankfully, this is one of the really nice systems. Once the map does load, you can see how high resolution and high detailed it really is. It's a beautiful system, and it really responds quickly to the touch. Just like a phone or your iPad, It's multi-touch enabled, which means you can use 2 fingers to zoom in or out, and that really enhances the experience, so you're not looking for some little zoom in or out buttons. At the bottom of the screen is this little pull-up menu that unfortunately most passengers are probably going to miss. If you click the point button, you can bring up a list of nearby cities and you can get vital information about them, like local time, distance to that city, and elevation. Now on the far right is really the coolest thing that the moving map does. You can select different views such as cycle view, wingman, tether, and what really is the coolest is cockpit, which brings you up a virtual HUD that you might see at a fighter jet or something like that. It's a little cheesy, but I like it. It gives you the heading, ground speed, and altitude, and a view of similar to what a pilot would see out the front window. Back to that tethered remote control now. Even though we're in the moving map on the main screen, the tethered remote still doesn't show anything. So if you manually go in and find moving map or interactive map on the little remote control, you get this rectangle with 4 black squares, and it's really not intuitive what, if anything, it does. Is it not loading all the way? Is it broken? Or I don't know. We'll figure that out once, for some reason, the main screen reloads the moving map. And okay, here we figure out what it does finally. It turns out that it loads sort of a trackpad mouse to control a cursor on the screen. So I guess you don't have to lean all the way up and select the little buttons on the bottom. Not really sure why you would want to do this or why they thought it was a good idea. They should have just put a smaller moving map on the remote so you don't have to exit a movie when you want to look at the map. Lost opportunity. The system also has what they call an e-reader, basically books, magazines on the screen, but it's something I really doubt many passengers are ever going to use, and I'll show you why. The text is incredibly small and really just not high resolution enough to want to be able to read it without a lot of eye strain. You don't really see it on camera in this video, but the text really wasn't very good at all. I wouldn't want to spend a moment reading that. And there's also a kids section that you find in a lot of IFE systems these days, so you can make sure the kids aren't peeking in the action films or anything like that. And there you have it. That is the overview of the American Airlines A321T IFE system.